What's up, everybody? Cal Diamora here from InTheHammer.com. I have the mayor of Hamilton, Andrea Horwath, with me, and I'm going to ask her a whole bunch of questions. Is that okay?
It's okay. And hi, everybody. And I hope I can answer them.
Okay, perfect. So Trudeau had his cabinet retreat a few weeks ago. How did that go? And I know you had an official chat with him. How did that go?
Yeah, well, it went really well. Of course, Hamilton was honored to be able to host the Prime Minister and his cabinet in our city. It came on the kind of heels of, or in tandem with, a big announcement in terms of investment in our airport. I believe, if I recall, $23 million from the federal government to help do some upgrades to our airport. So that was cool. But yeah, it was really neat to not only be the host of this meeting, but then to get a few minutes of time with the Prime Minister myself. It was really great.
Awesome. By-election is coming up in your former seat, and you've held it for decades. How are you able to find so much success, getting voted in every year?
Well, it's interesting. I certainly have had a passion for my riding, for the entire time I was honored enough to be able to represent the people there. It had a lot of similarity to the city ward that I represented prior to getting elected. Interesting fun fact, though, when I was elected municipally, it was the downtown area. And then when the by-election came, it was a little bit further east. So a lot of my initial riding, before there was a change up of riding boundaries, was further to the east, a little bit of the current riding, but a lot further east. And then the boundaries changed and I got my old ward back, Ward 2, and was able to represent the people of initially Hamilton West, it was called, and then Hamilton Center. And it's been really fantastic. It's been a journey, and it's all about paying attention to people. It's all about listening, paying attention, going forward with the voices and concerns that come from community and people, and building that kind of that relationship, that dialogue. And it's been an absolute honor.
Awesome. Many were vocal at the recent budget meeting that you had, particularly in regards to the police service budget. Where do you stand on this?
Well, there was quite a protest, I guess, if you will, quite a group of folks who are very, very concerned. I think we're all concerned. We're all concerned that we need to have more investments upstream, more investments in mental health, addictions, transitional housing, supportive housing, many of those pieces. In fact, interestingly enough, the Ontario Big City Mayors Caucus recently sent a letter to a resolution, actually, they passed and sent a letter over to the Minister of Health provincially, because municipalities don't have the financial capacity to pay for really health programs. So whether it's addictions treatment, whether it's mental health supports, whether it's those kinds of health-related supports that people need to live independently, we cannot. We don't have the capacity to do that at the local level. So we're investing a ton of money as much as we possibly can. Maybe, I mean, certainly we're going to be investing more, not maybe, with this budget in making sure people get the kind of supports that they need. We're being informed in our work, particularly around homelessness and encampments, by having dialogue and meetings with the frontline service providers, agencies and organizations that serve the most vulnerable populations. But until we have the services in place to do things differently, the funding, I guess, in place to do things differently, we have to be really careful about where we withdraw services. So, as I'm a member of the Police Services Board, unfortunately, I wasn't able to take I wasn't able to be at their budget meeting because I was actually out of the country. But I think we have to be really careful about recognizing that policing is something that's necessary on all kinds of fronts. And so absolutely, we have the folks who came to speak very strongly about policing in the context of the most vulnerable people in our community. They have serious concerns. We also have a lot of gun violence now happening in Hamilton. We've had a couple of huge drug busts, and they're continuing. We have a lot of, and now I'm not saying that statistically we have more of these things than ever before. Certainly, violent crime and those kinds of things statistically aren't over the top, but they're happening. We have a huge problem with traffic, particularly with accidents, if you will, on our streets and street and road safety. So the responsible thing to do is to balance all of these needs and make sure we are funding the police, but we're also funding the programs and services that help people to transition, out of the situations they are in when it comes to the most vulnerable. And that piece of the puzzle hasn't been solved yet. And we need other orders of government to step up and help us solve it.
Well, one question we always get whenever I mention this on Instagram Live is the homeless problem. What is Hamilton doing about the homeless?
Well, it's tragic to see what's happening in our communities on our streets, and what we have been investing a great deal of not only of capital, but of programming, partnering with those agencies that I was talking about before. We are looking, I think our entire council now is very much looking at what can we do quickly, what can we do in the medium term, what can we do in the longer term to make sure people are housed. You cannot build a life. You can't deal with, for example, a mental health challenge or deal with, a desire to address your substance use without a stable home. You can't go to university or go to or succeed in school. You can't, become an entrepreneur successfully. You can't, raise a family successfully if you don't have a stable roof over your head. So I've always believed that housing is the nexus of everything that creates an ability for people to build a good life. So we're just in the process of putting together what we're calling housing stability and investment roadmap, so that we are sure that all of the investments that we're making in housing and in other support services are thoughtful and appropriate to deal with some short-term goals in terms of getting more people housed, as well as some of the medium-term integrated services, if you will, for the folks that are the most vulnerable, as well as making sure that our housing stock that we have is maintained into the far future. Because what we're finding in Hamilton is we're losing affordable housing stock. We're losing affordable housing stock both in the market, so private landlords, we're losing that stock, and we're also losing some of the social housing units that we've had over the years, because I know it's people kind of roll their eyes, too much information, but there are many social housing projects that started 30 years ago, and their mortgages that they had arranged and their programs that funded them from the beginning, these federal and provincial social housing funds, their mortgages are coming to an end. So then what happens to those units? And so we're doing everything we can to try to make sure we don't lose those units as well. So this is why we've put together this, or why we're working on putting together this plan, because it's not just about throwing money at things. It's about a really thoughtful plan. How do we get people housed immediately? How do we prevent losing some of the housing? And how do we make sure, that we're building the kind of supportive housing that people need to stay housed?
We're going to shift gears a little bit. Here's when is Barton Street going to get repaved? Do you know the answer?
Oh, not soon enough, I can tell you that. It is actually it's actually on the plan. I shouldn't say that. Yeah. I'm having actually memories of just the other day, hitting a pothole on my street where I live, and thinking to myself, if I park this car and come back, it's going to have a flat tire, or I've done something to what do you call it, to bend the rim or something like that, right? Yeah. I don't want that to happen, but it wasn't on Barton Street. So that tells you that, in fact, we have some serious challenges. But Barton Street is on the list of soon to be repaired streets. I think by the end of this year, it will be done. Let me look at my note here. 2022 and 2023. So some of the money was in last year's budget. Some of it's in this year's budget. And that work is supposed to be finished by the end of this year. So that will be awesome. Just a sidebar though, the pothole that I hit the other day, as I drove on my street today, those potholes were all filled, temporarily at least, filled with asphalt. So we're getting there.
Awesome. Good. First Ontario Place. First Ontario Center, sorry. We closed for 2 years. We've already lost the honey badgers and the bulldogs. Are you concerned that there may not be like an anchor tenant when, you know, this beautiful building opens back up again?
Not at all. My sense is that that we will be such a fantastic, amazing, brand spanking kind of new overhauled facility that folks are going to be excited to come back, and I'm certainly keeping my my eye on that. We would love to have the bulldogs back, absolutely. The honey badgers as well. Who knows who else might be out there that might be interested in being a part of the refurbished arena. It's really at the end of its useful life, and now, as you probably know, the City Council has engaged a private consortium to deal with some of our entertainment assets in our downtown, and so this is one huge project, and it's going to mean some bumps along the way, no doubt. But I'm certain that when we reach out, once the repairs or the upgrades have been done, we'll see all kinds of great sporting activity and other activities there as well.
Awesome. I remember seeing WWE there about 20 years ago, and I thought it was old then. So anyways.
Ouch. Well, you know what the good story is about that is that we're getting all kinds of repairs done, and we're getting a complete overhaul of the arena. But one of the things that that comes with that is about $155 million in savings to the city over about a 30-year period, because we've made this agreement happen. So it is kind of a fiscally responsible thing to do for the city.
Unfortunately, I have to talk about the sewage leak again. I guess more have been discovered. You know, what is at the core of this issue? Like, what has flown underneath the radar for decades? Like, what happened?
Well, you know, unlike, so it's not unlike a lot of other really old cities, frankly. We're not the only city that has these kinds of challenges. But as you know, we had a pretty serious one happen with an incident in terms of a particular gate that wasn't closed properly on a combined sewage overflow tank, and that ended up contaminating a pretty important waterway here in Hamilton. So that's created a heightened awareness and concern from the environmental perspective, obviously, and rightfully so, for Hamiltonians. And then we've had a couple of other incidents because we have a system that's over 100 years old. In fact, it's the third oldest wastewater, sewage, if you will, called system in Canada. And so that means that there are old things in the first place, but there are also many, many, many years of repairs that have taken place. And what we've decided to do as a city is, instead of just wait for the next bombshell to hit or wait for the next problem to show up, is to start proactively looking for where the greatest risk is for possible leaks, and start proactively identifying them and fixing them. And that's the responsible thing to do, right? We don't want to be, you know, if we do nothing, then the most recent 2 leaks that we found that are nowhere near the scale of the other challenge that we had, but they're still concerning. Some of them were over a long period of time. There is you know, in the one case, there were, I think, 50 homes impacted on Burlington Street. The most recent one, I think there were, I want to say 11 homes, and so the volumes were a lot less. But we don't want any homes that are going into our stormwater system and being discharged into the lake or the harbor. So, long-winded way of saying, we're out there looking for them so that we're not just coming upon them. If we weren't doing this pilot project to look for them, those 2 leaks would still be happening. And we've been now weeks and weeks, if not months, since we found those leaks. And so yeah, we find them. We're gonna keep looking for them and do the responsible thing.
Awesome. Question from my journalist. You were elected mayor amid one of the largest waterfront projects, maybe ever. As more investment dollars come in, does Hamilton get overlooked as far as a waterfront, city? Can this be the crown jewel of Hamilton or maybe Ontario?
Well, absolutely, it could be it absolutely can be the crown jewel, and it's really interesting. When I was finishing up as the city councillor, they were just finishing up the work on the planning for that waterfront area. It was called Setting Sail, and it was kind of cool now to see that planning work that was done 25 years ago is actually bearing fruit, because these things take a long time. But it's so exciting. We've recently built a boardwalk extended our boardwalk around some of the new piers that are going to be under construction. We've been investing significant amounts of dollars. Again, I would want to get the money right. Over $100 million overall of $140 million capital plan has been invested, and it's really, really great. So a number of new piers have been opened up. 6, 7, and 8, and it's really fantastic. It's interesting. For a long time, that area of our waterfront was port use, like industrial port. It was also people might not know this, but there was a toxic dump, privately owned and operated dump. And we started cleaning all that stuff out. People would never be able to even get anywhere near the water's edge in our harbor, ever. And so over these last couple of decades, we've done amazing things to bring people back to the water's edge, to provide for recreational space, for open space, and now there's housing coming as well. So it's pretty exciting. And there aren't big, huge skyscrapers that are, preventing people from being on the water's edge. So that's exciting too.
Awesome. And last question, we're halfway through the month, but it is Black History Month. What is Hamilton doing, and have you been to any events?
Oh, so we've had an amazing couple of weeks already here in Hamilton. We had a launch that was absolutely inspiring. It was inspirational. What the Black Heritage Committee has been doing here in Hamilton is they have put together a whole program for the entire month, including celebrating 16 historic Black people in Hamilton who have contributed historically to our city. As I went through the list, I knew some of them personally, which was really great. And so they're not only did we have a bit of a celebration here at City Hall to honor them, we have banners that are honoring them in along some of our downtown streets. Our buses are also branded already, actually, and will continue to be branded for a 16-week period on our Black History Month logo, if you will. Tomorrow night is the John C. Holland Awards, which is an award ceremony that has been around for, I can't remember how long now, but a number of decades, in honor of John C. Holland, who was a prominent member of the Black community and the faith community here in Hamilton. This awards dinner is going to celebrate young people, particularly, who are contributing and doing great things in our community. So yeah, I'll be attending that as well. So there's a lot of really great things. I think it's the best Black History Month kind of array of celebrations that we've had, and there are many other things. There have been events at McMaster where there are readings and poetry, and there's just been all kinds of great activities. I can't make them all, unfortunately, but they've been very well attended, and it's been beautiful, nothing short of beautiful.
Awesome. Well, Mayor Horwath, thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next month.
Okay, Khaled, my pleasure. Nice to see you. Take care. Okay.